In this video, we'll journey into the depths of the iceberg, exploring Minecraft's most obscure secrets. The deeper we go, the less well-known the entries will be. Let's see how much you know about this game. Wither skeletons have flame. If you somehow give a bow to a wither skeleton, even if it's not enchanted, it will shoot fire arrows. That means that wither skeletons don't need flame to actually use the enchantment, which is an interesting thing to know. Wool in desert pyramids. Before update 1.8, desert pyramids used to spawn with wool instead of hardened clay, now known as terracotta. Although it is a small change, it didn't really make sense to have wool spawn in pyramids, but it looked great. Mineshaft center room. Mineshafts have a central room from which they start generating. This room is completely empty, something that makes it very creepy. They were changed in update 1.18, as before they used to spawn with a dirt floor, and they would have cobwebs. These rooms have intrigued Minecraft players for a long time, and feel incomplete to this day. The rarest mob. There's plenty of mob variants in Minecraft. The rarest of them all is a zombie villager chicken jockey with perfect enchantments. In Bedrock Edition, you can go even further, being able to get a husk baby brown panda jockey with perfect enchantments. They are so rare you will never see one of them in a world, but we can spawn them with commands to see them in person. Seasonal events. The way you play Minecraft actually changes throughout the year. If you played for long enough, you probably noticed that the chests have a different texture during Christmas. This is a very cool addition, but you can only see it from the 24th to the 26th of December. This change also affects trapped chests, making them identical to regular ones, which means that during Christmas it's easy to troll your friends with these. The game is also a bit harder during Halloween, as mobs will be able to spawn wearing pumpkins. That makes it so zombies and skeletons wearing them don't burn during daytime. Secret villagers. There's actually two villager variants that don't spawn in any village. They are the swamp and jungle villagers. You can obtain them in survival by either curing a zombie villager or building a village in those biomes. They're a cool Easter egg, and it looks like Mojang will give them special trades in a future update. Old Frozen Ocean. Before update 1.13, there was a secret unused biome in Minecraft. This biome was a completely frozen ocean, having some rivers and islands along its surface. It could generate naturally before update 1.7.2, and then remained unused until the new frozen ocean was added in update Aquatic. Wet sponge water bucket. This is probably one of the most obscure crafting recipes in the game. You can get back the water from a wet sponge if you have an empty bucket and a furnace. Fire crafting. In old Minecraft versions, you used to be able to get fire as an item, and you could actually craft stuff with it. It was used to craft chainmail armor, which is something all Minecraft veterans know very well. Light gray stained glass pane. Besides having a funny name, this item is very well known for being the only invisible item in the inventory. Seriously, you can't see it at all unless you hover your mouse over it. This has been used in many adventure maps and mini-games. Inverted endstone. If you invert the colors of endstone, it looks just like cobblestone. Funny enough, if you enter into the point of view of an Enderman with spectator mode, you will see that they see the colors inverted. That means that Endermen see endstone just like we see cobblestone, and they see cobblestone just like we see endstone. That's a cool Easter egg and a good way to reuse textures. Weakness on cave spiders. Most players don't really use negative potions in survival, as there's no point in using them if it's not against players. That's why most of you watching will probably have missed this. Cave spiders will poison you if they hit you, dealing huge amounts of damage, but if you use a weakness potion on a cave spider, it will not only reduce its damage, it will prevent the spider from poisoning you. It isn't very useful, but a cool thing to know. Invisible visible mobs. Even if this is an oxymoron, there's actually some mobs that satisfy that description. Not all mobs become completely invisible when using an invisibility potion on them. An example would be Endermen, as you can still see their eyes. You can also see both spiders and cave spiders' eyes, even when they are invisible, and they look great. And a rarer one are sheep, as before update 1.8, you could still see their wool, even after throwing them an invisibility potion. Monoliths. Monoliths are a very rare and weird generation glitch that happened in old alpha versions. These structures would rise up above the clouds. They are completely flat on top and look very impressive. However, most interesting is what's below them. Below every monolith, there's an empty space with a lake that you can explore. They are very rare, so if you want to see one by yourself, you should download a map. Deadmau skin. Everyone knows the two-player models in the game. Steve is the regular one, while Alex has thinner arms. However, there's a third model. Deadmau 5 is a Canadian DJ that has an exclusive player model with mouse ears. This is how it looks with a Steve skin. I promise it looks a lot better with his actual skin. Petrified oak slab. You might have found this item in the creative inventory and wondered what it was. It looks like a regular oak slab, but it acts like a stone slab. You need a pickaxe to mine it instead of an axe, and it even makes stone sounds. However, do you know why this was added? When slabs were first added in beta, they just copied the code for a regular stone slab. Wooden slabs were just reskins of stone slabs until Release 1.3.1, when they finally added the wooden slabs we know today. But what would happen to players that upgraded their world to that version? Would they lose their wooden slabs? No, they just renamed the old ones to petrified oak slabs. So yeah, these can actually be obtained in survival Minecraft. Indev mobs. Indev was a weird phase of Minecraft, and it had many experimental features that look very out of place by today's standards. The best example are the MD3 mobs made by Doc. There's 4 of them, and they appear in different versions. The first one is Rana, which has a very interesting design. Then we have Steve and Black Steve for some reason. Also, I don't know why I have infinite reach in this version. The last one is Beast Boy, which I could only find in this weird glitched version. They are weird, and too old to feel nostalgic about them, but they're part of Minecraft's history. Natural giants. There's no Minecraft version in which giants can spawn naturally, as the light conditions for giants can never be satisfied. However, there's footage of Notch testing them in an old, probably lost version. If you summon them in the latest version, they will have no AI. If you want to see them in action, just go to an old version like 1.7. If you summon a giant there, they still have their AI, and you can easily tell why they were never implemented. Wool armor. There's many different armors in Minecraft, but did you know you could craft armor out of wool? Before Alpha 1.0.8, there was no leather in the game. We still had the leather armor though, and it was crafted out of wool. That made sheep a lot more useful. Additionally, you could shear sheep by punching them, and the armor gave you 20 protection points. However, the protection would go down with the durability of the armor. This is a very old system, but it lasted longer than the wool armor. Hidden names and textures. If you look at the texture files, you will find that there's some signatures in some of them. A very well-known fact is that you can find Jeb's name in both the Guardian and Elder Guardian texture, but you can also find that in the old Zombie Pigman texture. Notch added the message "Thanks Isophobia" to the texture. However, after 1.16, this is no longer in the game. Disc 11. This broken music disc is one of the creepiest items in the game. There's been countless of theories and creepypastas made around it, and with good reason. Just listen to it. However, if you check out its spectrogram, you can see something very interesting. It's actually Steve's head and C418's signature. Remember that C in hexadecimal equals 12. However, it can be Herobrine if you want it to be. Minecraft China Apocalypse Mode. Minecraft China is a very mysterious version, as it's a customized version of Bedrock Edition for Chinese citizens. As such, it has its own marketplace, with custom data packs and texture packs. But there's also some official data packs that are called modes. One of them is the Apocalypse mode, a mod-like experience that resembles slightly the Twilight Forest, but filled with Chinese mythology. This mode is filled with RPG-like items, new bosses, and a new dimension. This was a trend for a while due to how mysterious it was, but it's just some sort of official mod. Vanilla autoclick. You can actually get some sort of an autoclick in Minecraft without using any hacks. If you go to controls and change the right click to a random letter, pressing that letter will cause you to spam the right click extremely fast. This is very fun with doors, snowballs, and eggs, but also, if you go to older versions like 1.14, using this vanilla autoclick with a minecart and a fishing rod would cause you to fly. This is one of the greatest glitches ever in the game. Secret potions. When potions were first added in the snapshots, they worked very differently. There were 32 different potions, and 29 of them were removed in Beta 1.9 pre-release 3, only surviving the mundane, awkward, and thick potions. However, the remains of that old system were kept in the game until they were finally removed in 1.9. If you go to older versions, you can get them with commands, but they don't do anything. Quiver. The quiver was a texture originally added in the classic era of Minecraft, but it didn't get any use and was removed later. However, during the 1.9 snapshots, Dinnerbone was thinking of adding the quiver again, showing us 2 screenshots with the item implemented, where it was used to hold tipped arrows. However, it didn't make the cut, and the quiver finally wasn't added. Brick pyramids. These massive structures were added in the old InifDev versions to test the structure generation in an infinite world. They are huge pyramids made out of bricks and reach the height limit. If you want to find one, walk 500 blocks forward after spawning, and then 500 blocks left, and you should be able to find one. They're a very impressive but very well-known secret. Turtle bowls. This one is a bit weird. If a turtle gets killed by a lightning, it will drop a bowl. However, I had a hard time recreating this, as for some reason, the items were invisible, and I thought they were getting burned. It's a bizarre fact, and I'm not sure I would use that bowl. Debug PNG. This is one of Minecraft's weirdest textures, added for debug purposes. However, you can actually see it in-game. If you go to snapshot 18W07C and you push a bubble column with a piston, the debug.png texture will appear for a moment. This glitch was very short-lived, but it's probably the only time we got to see this texture. Working chairs. Mojang has said multiple times they wouldn't add chairs to Minecraft. However, did you know you can actually make them with commands? With this command, you can summon an invisible llama anywhere you want, which allows you to sit. You can place them anywhere, and with a good design, it looks great. To remove the chair, just punch the llama. Calm 4 OGG. Did you know Notch made a song for Minecraft? In the files of old versions, you could find an unused track, Calm 4 OGG. You're listening to it right now. Old TNT and bow physics. In the old Minecraft survival tests, both arrows and TNT worked very differently. You would spawn with 20 arrows, and you could fire them by pressing tab. You could spam the arrows as fast as you wanted, something that would remain in the game until beta. TNT on the other side would be ignited when you punched it, and you could disable it by punching it again. It's funny to see how much the game has changed along the years. Repeating seeds. The seed you're seeing on screen has something very peculiar. If you go into spectator mode and go underground, you'll see what? This seed has infinitely repeating cave formations and structures, which is very weird, and this seed is not the only one. If you add multiples of the 48th power of 2 to the seed, you will also get repeating seeds. This is due to how world generation works, and there's many seeds that break it and cause the world to endlessly repeat along one of the 2 axes, depending on the seed. Zombie Town. I'm sure all of you are familiar with Steve's model, but did you know where it came from? This is Zombie Town, an old game made by Notch, and this is all the footage we have from it. This video is so dark and gloomy, and you can barely tell what's going on, but it's the first appearance of the model that would eventually become Steve. Minecraft 4K. This isn't a high-resolution version of Minecraft at all. This version was made for a game contest where the games had to wait 4 kilobytes max. As you can see, it's a simplified version of Minecraft where you can only move, break, and place blocks. For some reason, you have to drag the screen to move the camera. There's also another version of this, where all the blocks have this weird texture. You're kinda in an interdimensional rift, which makes this very weird. It's just an interesting old and weird version of the game. Despawn the Dragon. This was once the most game-breaking glitch in the game, but it was also pretty unknown. In older versions like 1.14, if you placed an ender crystal in the obsidian platform the first time you entered the end, the ender dragon would just not spawn. However, both the end gateway and the return portal would be there, effectively skipping the ender dragon fight completely. This is a very weird glitch, and one of the most interesting ones this game has had. The rarest armor. This is another old glitch that happened from 1.10 to 1.16. When the skeleton trap was activated, Minecraft had a chance to apply the enchantments twice to the helmets of the skeletons. That meant that there's a chance to get repeated enchantments. The most broken of them all was getting 2 times Protection 3, which acts as Protection 6. You can also get Protection 3 and Projectile Protection 4. You can't add Mending to the first one, but you can to the second one. However, even if it's technically possible to get in survival, this is so rare you would have to find around 100 million skeleton horsemen. Phantom Nether. If you're playing in version 1.11.2 and you enter the Nether from the end, you will enter into the Phantom Nether. The Phantom Nether is one of the weirdest glitches in Minecraft history. It's just like the Nether, but all entities are glitched. If you try to summon mobs, place sand, shoot arrows, or light up TNTs, nothing will happen. But if you change your game mode to survival mode, then weird stuff starts happening. The sand falls forever, the arrows keep looping, mobs don't move, and much more. If you leave the game and join again, everything will turn back to normal. This is extremely interesting, and Ant Venom made an entire video about this, which you can watch if you're interested. Steve Villager Hybrid. This is a weird texture that was found in the game files. It was never implemented, but it was supposed to be a Steve-like villager model. The original model is a bit glitched and doesn't look well, but with this recreation, we can see how it was supposed to look. This is very unsettling, but also looks very funny. Negative potions and enchantments. In old versions of Minecraft, we could actually get negative enchantments. Sharpness, for example, would reduce your damage, so with a low level you wouldn't deal any damage. Other enchantments would just not work at low levels, being very boring. Potion effects are more interesting. Level 128 is actually the maximum level, and any levels above actually act like negative levels, 129 acting like minus 128, and 256 acting like 0. With Jump Boost, with level 128 you will jump hundreds of blocks, but with level 129 you won't be able to jump. If you get lower negative levels, your jump will be slightly reduced. On any of these levels, you won't take fall damage at all. Levitation is even more interesting. Level 256 is like level 0, where you neither fall nor go up, being able to float in the air in the same height. If you get higher negative levels, you will actually fall a lot faster, just as if the gravity was increased. Minecart Hidden Texture. If you look closely at a minecart in spectator mode, you will see a hidden dirt-like texture, but do you know where it came from? When minecarts were first added in InDev, besides their item looking extremely goofy, they actually acted like chests. You could place items inside them, and the more occupied slots they had, the higher this weird texture would rise, looking just as if you were filling the minecart. They never removed the texture, so you can still see it in-game. Deformed horses. In older versions of Minecraft, if you summoned horses with negative ages, you would get baby horses. but there was no limit on how low you could go. If you went lower, both the body parts of the horse and its hitbox would become smaller, looking extremely cursed. If you feed them apples, they will just grow into normal horses. But if you keep going down, the horse eventually reverses and starts becoming big. You can keep going, and with some command tricks we can get this. This is one of the weirdest things you can do with mobs in old versions of Minecraft. Air OGG. In April Fool's 2020, Mojang added infinite dimensions as a joke. They also added 42 custom dimensions and an additional secret one. The hint we got to find it was a file, Air OGG. After a long time, the file was decoded, and the answer is the following. If you use that code as a dimension, you will warp into this completely empty dimension with a message written in grass blocks. This message is a reference to the science fiction book, 2010 Odyssey 2. This is probably the most obscure Easter egg in the game's history, and a very interesting part of this game's history. Giant withers. Withers have a parameter called invul, which determines how long their invulnerability phase lasts. If you make it big enough, the wither will become extremely small and get bigger until the time is over. If you want the wither to stay this size, just remove its AI. However, as you can guess, if you keep going up, the wither will turn upside down and start getting bigger. If you change its name to Dinnerbone, you will be able to see this giant wither. It doesn't do anything, but it looks really intimidating, and you can still summon it in modern versions. Minecraft MD3 test. In very old versions of Minecraft, Notch was testing how MD3 models would work in the game. He never made these tests playable, but he uploaded this video. This is extremely unsettling, mainly because of the poor resolution and these weird characters chasing you. These models are from games like Quake 3D and look very out of place. This footage is probably the weirdest thing that ever happened in Minecraft's development. Herobrine was in Minecraft. Before beta 1.8, there was a secret mob that could only be spawned using external programs. That was the monster, a Steve-looking mob that acts like a zombie and would chase you. I'm playing an old map that used this mob to scare people. Even if I already knew that it would spawn, it jump-scared me a couple of times while recording this. It isn't very threatening, but still the most creepy mob that ever existed in the game. Who knows? Maybe some glitch caused this mob to spawn in a world, and the Herobrine story was real all along. And this is everything for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, as it took me a lot of work to make. If you stayed till the end, I'm sure you will also enjoy this video. Thanks for watching.